Okay, this is the first in a series about electric cars involving range. Now, range has probably been certainly the biggest problem for electric vehicles since they were first made. It's always been the limiting factor on what they can do. Now, we're moving into kind of a newer era in these vehicles, over 200 miles range, some up around 300 miles range, which is making a lot of difference. But in order to understand what range really means, it's a little more complicated than it sounds. So let's start out with a Chevrolet Bolt. That's the first cheap car with a reasonable range. Okay, 238 combined per charge miles. More like 217 on the highway. That's due primarily to wind resistance and tire rolling resistance. So right off the bat, we start out with that 238 and it drops to 217 when we decide to take a trip. So that's one of the many things that happens with these vehicles when we start talking about range. It immediately drops. Now, understand, I'm not down on electric cars. I own one. I'm just trying to give you an accurate idea of what these electric cars are capable of doing, so that they can do what you want them to do. So, that 238 mile range is not you getting out on the highway and just taking off. That is, you're going to get that 217 maybe if the outside temperature is, say, 60 degrees, so you don't need air conditioning and you don't need heat. That's assuming your travel is fairly flat. If you have a lot of elevation gain without an elevation loss to compensate, it's going to not be so good. It is going to change your range. All these things are going to change it. And they're always going to change it for the worse. Because if I don't have, let's say, heating, and I'm running in, say, 60 degrees, okay, I'm not going to need heat. Well, if I change that and it's down to 30 degrees, I'm going to need heat. And guess what? That heat is going to take 20 to 25% off of your range. That's just a fact. That's just how it works. So we're going to have to understand range in light of all these mitigating factors. Remember, if I heat a car that has a gasoline engine, I get that heat for free. It's not really free, but it seems like it, because I'm throwing it away anyway. That's why they got great big radiators on gasoline engines, is to get rid of all the heat. And we'll go into the efficiency and stuff in another video. But this is one of the things you got to deal with, is how much range loss are you going to get with environmental conditions? How are they going to change what's going on here? And the rest of the videos in this series are going to be about the different things that change, and I'll get specific on different things. If someone tells you that I got 310 or 20 miles on a charge, that's not accurate. Now, that may be what the odometer said, but when you start putting it in perspective and how the driver was actually operating the vehicle and the terrain he was going on, you'll find that's not accurate. So we're going to go into a whole bunch of these different things and try to explain what happens in electric vehicles when we're driving uphill, downhill, in hot temperatures and cold temperatures. Tons more stuff coming on this.